As of today, we're a little less than 2 weeks away from the American release of Shin Kamen Rider. Although it's only going to be a one-night affair, and that night is Wednesday, May 31st at like 9 p.m., I feel like I'm more pumped up to see Shin Kamen Rider than probably any previous Kamen Rider event ever. Honestly, there have never been a theatrical release for a Kamen Rider movie in America, so that alone is exciting. I am somehow the second person in my state to buy a ticket for Shin Kamen Rider. I was narrowly being out when they announced the tickets were on sale. But yeah, unlike Shin Ultraman, I'm thrilled to be seeing this one within months of its Japanese release, without having to go through the agony of traveling to another country like I had to do when I went to see Shin Ultraman. On top of that, since the movie's coming out soon, new English translations of the film's 2 posters have leaked out, albeit with extremely different attempts at replicating the original Kamen Rider font in English. Which one do you guys like better? I kind of think this one's closer to the original, but not so readable. The other one's more readable, but it looks a lot worse. Oh, and one thing I really appreciate about this poster is the friggin' amazing subtlety of the poster. That while it's clearly just a big poster for Kamen Rider's goofy-ass giant helmet, there's an additional creep factor that if you look at the poster just carefully enough, you can see the goofy eye hole on the helmet is always there like it always was, but actually now you can see inside of it, and you can see Takashi Hongo inside the helmet all Frankenstein the fuck out like he's fucking dying, which is creepy. Now that being said, after Shin Kamen Rider comes out, currently there is no clear future for where the Shin Japanese Superhero Cinematic Universe is going to go. Although a lot of people have speculated and a lot of people have dropped some hints, and that's pretty much what we're going to go over on this video. What the hell is going to happen next to the Japanese Superhero Cinematic Universe? So let's just go through all the different pieces and all the different rumors of where these pieces are going. Going back to the start, the Shin Superhero Universe started with Shin Evangelion, and yeah, sure, that's included because Anno doesn't want to do Evangelion anymore. Now, everyone thought there would be another anime spin-off, but so far the first spin-off of Evangelion to come out since Anno has abandoned it has so far been an avant-garde European puppet play that does seem to tell an original Evangelion story. That's probably not going to ever come to American shores though, so the main rumor that what we're getting next with Evangelion is that there's maybe going to be a new anime project set in between the time skip that happened between the Rebuild 2.2 and 3.3 movies, detailing exactly what happened to all those characters while the world fully fell apart. Because famously, Rebuild 3.3 was completely rewritten from what was shown in the preview at the end of 2.2, and the base consensus is that this new anime would show that original idea, with a popular rumor that since Shinji was stuck inside EVA Unit 1, Ryoichi Kaji would take over as the main character for some reason, due to his extremely limited presence yet strong influence in the Rebuild series. What do you guys think? Do we need another Evangelion anime? Let me know. Anyway, next on the docket is Shin Gojira. Now, this is probably the most interesting one for me because I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and supposedly, as of a few months ago, Toho has fully started development and planning for the next Godzilla movie. However, despite how badly I want to see the continuation of the Shin Cinematic Universe, it's very likely that this next Godzilla movie made in Japan will very sadly not be Shin Gojira 2. Because at the same time, Warner Brothers is just extending the shit out of their legendary Godzilla licensing contract to give us Godzilla vs. Kong Part 2, which I didn't expect that. The last movie was kind of garbage, but hey, drunk rednecks showed up and watched it to see a big lizard punch a big monkey, and it did get the highest box office of the pandemic, so I mean there were reasons to make it. I'm just surprised they're making it. Anyway, back to Shin Gojira. I hate to see him be a one and done freak show, but the consensus online is that Toho just can't continue with that Godzilla because that Godzilla can never become a superhero like the original classic Showa Godzilla. You can't root for Shin Gojira because he's got the beady little crazy eyes and he killed a bunch of people. Long story short, it seems that Godzilla is going back to where he belongs as a family-friendly hero for little kids. It is kind of mind-boggling though, because if they do go through with this means that while Godzilla has a lot of respect for being the first cinematic universe to interconnect its movies, this also means that if they do reboot this, we might be living in a very crazy world where there are 3 different Godzillas somehow going through 3 separate ongoing cinematic universes at the same time. And that's just kind of nuts. You would have the legendary Godzilla in the Monarchverse, the Shin Gojira in the Shin Heroverse, and then this reboot Godzilla leading up a rebooted Japanese Monster Toho-verse. Wow, that's a lot of Godzillas. Alright, moving on, Shin Ultraman. Now, Shin Ultraman was honestly a spectacular film. While not as being as concise of a film as Shin Gojira, and probably not as broadly accepted, it did manage to instill the essence and the violence of the original 39 Ultraman episodes from 1966 into one epic crazy film, tying together a bunch of little episodes and a bunch of little battles into a big fat movie. The biggest common regret of that movie, though, is they skipped over the Ball Sensation, but otherwise everyone was pretty happy with it for the most part. Now, while it would not be impossible for them to do a Shin Ultraman 2 with some other Ultraman episodes, the popular consensus is they won't be doing that. As far as Shinji Koguchi is concerned, what he wants to do is a sequel to Shin Ultraman that must be, should be, can only be Shin Ultra 7, continuing the story of Ultraman into the story of Dan Moriboshi and all his most popular enemies. Although Higuchi has gone on to the record to say that if he ever does make Shin Ultra 7, he would want it to have a larger budget than Shin Ultraman. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on his part, but I can respect the man's need to outdo himself. That being said, if there was going to be a Shin Ultra 7, some of the momentum for that has seemingly been hijacked by Tsuburaya announcing a separate 55th anniversary film for Ultra 7. This film is in line with the original TV show, and it looks really cool. It contains a sort of Twilight Zone plot where Dan Moriboshi is plucked out of the original Ultra 7 TV show in the middle of it happening in 1967, and is suddenly transported to modern-day 2023 Tokyo to run around haplessly like an idiot, I guess. I mean, he'll probably turn into Ultra 7 and fight someone and go back to 1967, but I honestly have a lot of respect for this as a concept because it seems wildly different from any of the previous Tokyo anniversary projects I've ever seen before, and it at least seems like it's really trying to nail the look and the continuity of the 1967 show, which I don't feel like they try to do enough. Nonetheless, as cool as this is, it's still not a continuation of the Shin Ultra universe. Lastly, we come to Shin Kamen Rider, and Shin Kamen Rider did great at the box office, which pretty much ensures it will have some kind of sequel. Now, I haven't seen the movie yet, but from what I understand, they could theoretically easily do a Shin Kamen Rider 2, just telling more of those dark original Kamen Rider TV show stories and manga stories, especially since, as it turns out, a handful of the ones that they wanted to squeeze into this movie didn't even make the final cut. But the popular consensus is that they'd probably take it in either one or two more interesting directions. Now, obviously, if they're going to do more Kamen Rider, sure, that makes sense. But they could also do another Ishinomori Henshin hero. The obvious direction, the one they'll probably pick, is just Shin Kamen Rider V3. Like Kamen Rider the Next tried to do before, V3 is obviously the obvious next step after the original Kamen Rider. It resolves a lot of the unanswered plot threads from the original Kamen Rider, and it takes the story to another level of escalation. But strangely, people seem more interested in them doing just another hero altogether, way out of left field. Leave the Kamen Riders be and just pivot to another superhero again, which is what the Shin Superhero Universe has done up to now. Online users have voiced their desire to most want to see a Shin Devilman. I'm assuming this would be live action, even though the last live action Devilman movie was horrible. But it would be really cool to see Anno tackle the material, even if it is another anime. I mean, it's been a few years since Devilman Crybaby, we could do another Devilman. I still haven't seen Anno's take on Cutie Honey either. I'll probably seek that out after I finally watch Shin Kamen Rider. Anyway, the big thing in Shin Kamen Rider that I still haven't fully processed is how much of the extended Ishinomori Shotaro-verse the Shin Kamen Rider movie sets up for the Shin universe. Because you can easily see Robot KGK in the trailer, which that alone gives me incredible amounts of hype, but I've also heard that there are additional Easter eggs in the film that allude to potential future origins for both Inazuman and Kikaider, which would also just be straight up amazing. If the next Shin movie does go even deeper into Ishinomori's lore, the big goal that a lot of people want it to reach would be Shin Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger. Now, this would perfectly continue the theme of escalation that all these films have had up till now, with the Go Rangers being a perfect example of this escalation, as the cyborg augments from Shin Kamen Rider are perfected and turned into the government anti-cyborg force, the Go Rangers, mirroring the SSSP's evolution from the anti-Godzilla force between Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman. Here's the thing though, for a long time, Go Ranger and Jack represented Ishinomori's original ideas for what Super Sentai could be. But those original ideas did not match what Super Sentai eventually became. For a long time, they weren't even considered a greater part of the Super Sentai history because they were so much more serious and so much less flamboyant than all the ones after Battle Fever J. Now we know where Super Sentai ends up. It ends up becoming the Power Rangers, but Go Ranger and Jacker represent this alternative dark branching path in their origins, with both of these teams strictly being made up of 5 tormented adults who abandon their humanity to become government weapons against terrorism. Go Ranger in particular has a lot of respect for me because of how fundamentally gritty and unrestrained they are compared to the later Super Sentai shows. If you marry that in with the already unchained Ishinomori's original intention of the bloody ultra-violence scene in Shin Kamen Rider, my god, Shin Go Ranger could be really amazing. Plus, there's also this additional underlying idea that Shin Go Ranger could also subvert expectations and actually be the long-awaited Avengers-style crossover film that the Shin universe has seemingly been desiring a build towards. Because Go Ranger literally translates in English to just the 5 Rangers. They could subvert that idea and make the 5 Rangers not the original Go Rangers, but just the Red Ranger, Kamen Rider, Godzilla, Ultraman, and even Unit 1. Although I have no logical idea how you would really include Godzilla and Evangelion Unit 1 into that. But that being said, all those ideas of what that could pertain got blown out of the water today when they dropped the commercial for Shin Universe Robo. Now, someone sent me this and I woke up to looking at this, and the first shot looks so much like the Zeta Gundam. I thought this was going to be a weird Gundam commercial, but then it immediately goes into superhero stuff so fast that my brain can't even process it all. Now, the first 15 seconds of this commercial I've already seen. It's been making the rounds as a part of another commercial. But now you can see that the superheroes are all together and they're fighting this amorphous blot of non-specific evil. And then Godzilla rallies them. Why the hell is Godzilla their leader? Because he came first? Because he's the oldest? What the hell? Wow. Anyway, Kamen Rider suddenly jumps in the air and there's this really crazy perspective shot where suddenly Kamen Rider looks gigantic. Or just the perspective is that insane that it looks that way. Anyway, yeah, so Rider jumps in the air and then all hell breaks loose when Godzilla suddenly transforms into a piece of robot junk, and then Evangelion and Ultraman do the same and turn into arms. And I can't even tell if Kamen Rider is controlling the robot on top or if he's just riding it because he's a rider, not a driver. But yeah, then the commercial magically transforms from CG animation to retro 90s Power Rangers live action man in a suit stuff with a really nice camera pan to show how ridiculous it all is. Because the fucking superheroes made a fucking MEGA-ZORD out of 4 characters, none of which were robots, and all of them had like organic beating gooey centers. But yeah, so then the amorphous blob of evil shoots a blast at them and summons some more UFOs, I guess. Kamen Rider does his pose and they fire a blast at the evil thing, and then they all run away really fast. I really hope that's not where this universe is going, but anyway, that was a commercial for a ridiculous super crossover MEGA-ZORD toy that you can buy for $230 US. This thing is absurd, and I'm sure that there are already some really awful memes coming out of it. Oh, like here's one, like, who the fuck is the thing supposed to fight? Ghidorah, Angel Spider-Man, or some illogical robot made of Gridman characters? Anyway, I'm hoping there's a better continuation for the universe after this, and that this toy isn't just here to like show how popular this universe is. A few years back, they did a limited Evangelion vs. Shin Gojira event. It had some sick-ass figures of Godzilla cell-corrupted Evangelions, and it culminated in a pachinko game where Shinji and Godzilla teamed up to fight the original King Ghidorah. Anyway, that wasn't that impressive, but in the end, I'm hoping the Shin Japanese Hero Universe, it really needs to start crossing over with itself at this point. I'm hoping directly because it's right at the end of it now. I think Shin Kamen Rider has a good chance of bringing in the other Ishinomori heroes, but we're going to have to wait and see if the universe can actually get past Shin Rider and where exactly it goes next. Anyway, I'm you, Buster Green, and tune in a couple of weeks when I tell you what I think of Shin Kamen Rider. See you guys later. Bye.